Welcome back to the channel, and today we're taking a look at the brand new Jack Wolf Midnight Fix EDC. And I gotta say, this one took me by surprise. He did not tell anybody that this was coming, and it was definitely a pleasant surprise for myself because I love a good pocket fixie. These go live at dealers today on the 14th at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And when it comes to the Midnight series, I'd call it, it has been my most carried and used slip joint of all the other slip joints that he's released that I've reviewed on the channel. Started with the original Midnight Jack. This is probably my most carried one of all. And I love the form factor of this one, and I love that excellent utility blade shape here. Very, very slicey because of the deep hollow grind. I just love everything about it. This one has probably 4 to 5 edges on it because I've used it that much. Then he came out with the locking version, the After Hours Jack. Another one that I absolutely love. It's a bigger version than the slip joint. And being that I carry mostly modern folders, this one was also very exciting. And then we also got the S90V steel with the locking version. And this one has been carried and used quite often as well. And we also got the upgraded version of the Midnight Jack. This particular one just has the S90V. The original one had the M390. They come with this beautiful leather sheath with the Jack Wolf logo embossed in it. Comes with a pocket clip. Once you put this in the pocket, it's not going anywhere. It's not going to pull out of the pocket because it has that little catch right there. So whenever you do want to take it out of the pocket, you just need to lift it up and pull it out of the pocket. But that's what you want. You don't want the whole sheath to come out whenever you try to pull the knife out. One thing I'm going to warn you on, if you get one of these, make sure to be careful and watch what you're doing whenever the first time you put the blade back in the sheath, because this is a very pointy knife. And the first time I was putting this in here, I wasn't really paying attention, and I put it to about right there, and I hit like this to try to get it to the end of it. And you can see where I cut the stitching right here, and the blade came popping out right here. That was my fault. I wasn't looking. I was just like hitting like this. Luckily, my hand was right here, so it came out there. So just be careful. You can judge how far this should go in. And I pinched the sides of this to open that up some and then push it in there slowly. And the more you do it, the easier it'll get to go in and out. Now, it does hold it. It's not coming out. So I love the fact that it came with a sheath with a pocket clip. That's the way I like to carry mine, slipped in the pocket most of all, especially this size. It comes in 4 different variations. First, the one you see here with the hand rub satin blade that looks absolutely stunning, and the starburst pattern contoured titanium scales with the blue anodized hardware. You can also get it with a stonewash blade and polished black linen micarta, as well as a belt satin version with purple haze fat carbon, and a dark blasted and tumbled blade with Ultim scales. Traditional pocket knives also has an exclusive version to them that has a belt satin blade and abalone scales. I got to check that one out at Blade Show. It's a beautiful looking handle. Sorry if it gets hard to hear me. I'm still don't have my voice from Blade Show. I'm doing my best. The show must go on. So this is a very compact fixed blade. It's coming in at 5.87 inches overall length with a 2.95 inch blade of CPM S90V steel, hardened to 60 to 61 HRC. And since I already have these two in S90V, I already know that the S90V performs outstanding. So basically what the testing that I'm going to be showing later is mainly just to see how it feels while using it with different materials and make sure that there's no craziness going on with that apex. You do have a nice sharpening choil on these, a very needle-like point. This thing's going to be an excellent utility blade. You can do a little pinch grip for drag cuts. If you need to do some very fine, precise cutting, you could do that very easily, especially being that these have a full height, deep hollow grind that comes down nice and thin. Now, being this is a fixed blade, he didn't go as thin as the slip joints, and I'm glad because I usually use my fixed blades a lot harder than I do my folders because a lot of them do have a little extra thickness on them. Now that said, this is still at 17 thousandths behind the edge, so still nice and thin. It's still very, very slicey. There is no jimping up top. That is something I wish I would have seen on this one because the only knives I really like my jimping on is my fixies. I do think, just a little bitty bit of fine jimping right up here for doing these drag cuts would have been great, and for choking up pressure cuts. But it's not super necessary. It would have just been nice. But as far as how this performs, let's find out. The knife came with a really good edge out of box, and of course, it's going to excel at this type of stuff, especially since you have that straight edge. It's going to be very powerful, and man, that hollow grind is slicing so well. Doing this type of stuff is pretty light duty stuff. The handle is long enough, and I have enough grip. I could do this for a while without getting fatigued or anything. So definitely something you could easily do, break down a bunch of boxes and stuff like this. That's where this one's going to shine. As far as in-hand cuts, if you do, heavier duty stuff, of course, it'll probably start to fatigue you rather quickly. Now here, we're going to test the ergos, make sure nothing's poking or prodding me or very uncomfortable. You will see me kind of adjust a few times. It's not really uncomfortable or anything. It's just that I'm trying to get the right grip for the way I'm doing it. You have enough texture from those tie scales with that starburst pattern that I'm nice and locked in, and I'm able to get some very powerful cuts in, especially with the thinner, smaller handle. See, you can see me adjusting. It's just because I'm trying to decide whether I want to go up with the saber grip, because of course the saber grip, you have more control because you're holding on to that blade. But when you want the power cuts, the hammer grip is pretty much the way to go. I was able to get a lot of force into it. Not something I would do for a long period of time. Like I said, it was already starting to fatigue my wrists and forearms. Now here, I'm just kind of seeing the type of edge it's got on it, whether it's got some toothiness to it. We don't cut a whole lot. We did more with the other versions that I have in S90V, so I didn't really feel the need to here. I just wanted to see how it was. It did have a nice aggression to the edge. I will say that pretty much every one of the ones I've gotten, they come pretty darn sharp. But if you want to see the best performance on this S90V blade, after at least the first sharpening, you're going to see an improvement, and then usually by the second, third sharpening, you're going to get the max performance out of that blade. That goes for pretty much any knife I've reviewed on this channel, unless they're being sharpened by hand. That's going to be the case, which a lot of companies belt sharpen. I don't know a whole lot of them that do it by hand. I mean, if you know somebody, then let us know that. But I think I did like 60 maybe here, something like that. And it was doing well. I did lift it on the block because it's harder to do it. But man, this is where it's going to shine. Those drag cuts, it's a scalpel up there. Now, as you can see, I'm not getting much edge onto the board without lifting it up. So it's a little bit more difficult. So it went straight back to the block. That gives you more surface contact with the material you're cutting. And of course, it's blasting through it. You do want to be careful. You don't want to jab that tip into your cutting board or anything, because it's a fine tip. You don't want to snap it. But yeah, it's doing great. The factory edge was definitely a-okay for me. And once again, another knife in the Midnight series that I absolutely love. So yeah, a-okay, and yeah, it was enjoyable as well. Gotta say, for as small as this is, it performed really well. You definitely have enough handle, at least for my medium-sized hands, to do in-hand cuts. Now, doing them for a long period of time, it's going to probably fatigue your wrist and forearms rather quickly. But, to me, this is more of take it out, make a cut, put it up. Like I said, excellent in the pinch grip. That's the way I'll probably use this most often. Doing these type of cuts, breaking down a box, cutting some string off of something, pulling through something. You could definitely do that as well. These tie scales look absolutely stunning. That's a nice starburst pattern, offers perfect amount of texture without being too overly aggressive. You have anodized titanium hardware. Those are Torx T8, and they're very nice and crisp Torx. Do have a hidden lanyard pin right here, and I love where he put this because a lot of people put the lanyard like right here, but here, in my opinion, is a perfect spot because you can see right here is where you're going to be grabbing it first. When it's up here, you got to kind of come past the scales to grab onto it. So if you put a nice little thick knot right there or a bead, you could grab on here if you want to get a little bit better solid grip. You know, I don't really see the need for it, but if you have large, extra large hands, that might be something you definitely want to do. I may put one on later, but I just wanted to see how it was without it. Another thing that I do like seeing is that this hand rub finish is continued all the way around on the spine. Hopefully y'all can see that. And it wraps all the way around. They do a nice job with pretty much everything. There's no stone left unturned on these knives. So you have this coffin-shaped handle. For me, it was nice and comfortable. Would I like these to be thicker? Yes, but then it would be a more bulky fixed blade. So I do like its form factor, and I'm okay with the way it is. Now, of course, because this one has titanium scales, it's going to be the heaviest of the bunch. And with just the knife, it comes in at 1.9 ounces. And then with the sheath, it is 3.5 ounces. All the other versions with the knife are 1.4 ounces. With the sheath, is 3.3. So not a huge difference, but if you're counting your ounces, you may want to go with one of the other scale options. Now, of course, this one is handle heavy because of the scales. But when it comes to these smaller fixies like this, a lot of times I like the extra heft in the handle. It makes it feel a little bit more substantial in the hand. That's just me. I know your mileage may vary. And now for some size comparisons. These are the two best size references that I have, the TCal Piranha and the Uinta Knives Explorer. And here it is next to the After Hours Jack and the Midnight Jack. You can see it's a good bit smaller. Lastly, as you can see here, it has even more handle size than the Kaiser Mini Sheepdog, and about the same handle size as the Griffin Co. Scout Medic. Now for my nitpicks and complaints, like I said earlier, I think it would have been nice to have just some very fine jimping right here, just because the pinch grip is where I use this type of knife a lot, you know, to get into a package or something, or if I have to do some very fine work, it just gives you a little bit more grip. That said, I'm still pretty locked in like this, and maybe even a little bit of fine jimping right up in here. But I do realize that it's a nice, elegant looking fixed blade, and maybe that's why he didn't want to put it up there. I don't know. It's not the biggest deal. I still love the knife. Thickness and scales, you know, when they're thicker, it is more comfortable, and I can do work for a lot longer. But, you know, this size fixed blade is more of a quick use and put it away. That's just how I use them. If I got a bigger job, I usually get a bigger fixed blade. But overall, I absolutely love the whole Midnight series, the After Hours knife as well. It's definitely one of my favorites, one of my most used. It's just an outstanding knife. And I have a good feeling, being that these are the first EDC fixies that Jack Wolf released, it's probably going to sell out rather quickly. So if you want to get one of these, I'd be ready. If you're interested in one of these, I will have it linked down below. I don't know how many he made or anything. And I hope this is not the last EDC fixie we see from Jack Wolf. He said if these do well and we want a little bigger version of something, he may do that. So he's going to give us what we are wanting, what we buy. You know, it's all going to depend on us. So I, you know, obviously want to see this continue, and I would love to hear y'all thoughts on that as well. If you have any questions about anything in particular, feel free to ask me down below. I'll do my best to get back with you. I hope every one of y'all is having an absolute wonderful day. I got to rest this voice a little bit before it goes out completely. I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.